Of all the people that I've met in the past week and who've sent emails to me and to many other deputies, and every deputy in fact in this House, there is not one of them who isn't willing to play their part in sorting out the mess that the country is in. But they are not willing to be used and abused to turn this country into a two-tier society, those who pay and those who don't pay. And that's the bottom line in relation to this. And of those who are paying, I have an article here from the Irish Independent. A mother of 6 who was jailed for debt. She was thrown into Mountjoy for a debt of less than €1,000 because she couldn't pay. Now, while that woman, mother of 6, struggling to pay a mortgage with her husband with her 6 children, was thrown into Mountjoy with nowhere to hide, those who made billions on the backs of this country, on the property bubble, and have their huge gambling debts now being paid for by the taxpayers, those rich people whose companies are part of the so-called bad debts of the banks, they can walk away scot-free, while the people of this country are left to pay. Now, I believe, and it's something that hasn't been hugely highlighted in the public press, we've had a lot of talk about delinquent bankers, but we haven't had enough talk, in my view, about those people who are responsible for the so-called bad debts in the banks. Because a lot of those people have money. They have that money hidden. They have companies and they've hidden behind those companies, and they're getting away scot-free. And I believe the banks should be forced to go after all of those so-called bad debts. Those people should be named and shamed, and those 10 people who were referred to earlier on today that the Taoiseach said he didn't know about, those people should be named and shamed as well. Because they're as responsible as the government is, and as the bankers are, for the children with special needs who are losing their classes, for the young people who are losing the life-saving vaccine. Those people are as morally responsible, and they should not be able to just go away and hide. In fact, the entire golden circle who've stashed their gains where they can't be seen, they should be named and shamed, and they should be forced to pay these so-called bad debts. This woman who went to Mountjoy, she has nowhere to hide. So why should those responsible for the huge debts to the banks be unidentified and free to go away and enjoy a lavish lifestyle? That's basically the source of the anger that is out there, Lasceann Comhairle. And there is an attempt being made to pit public against private sector worker. And we absolutely must not fall into that trap, because this is not about public versus private. The nurse who's struggling to pay a mortgage, and the family just described there by my colleague Deputy Roisin Shortall, they are on the same side as the Dell workers in my constituency who are losing their jobs. They're the ones who are being asked to pay. And there are thousands of people who are well able to pay in this country who are being allowed to get away with it. And that is the basic issue of inequality in this country, and that is the two-tier society that we're now being asked to buy into in this levy. There are many people who are in the public sector who do pay towards their pensions. In fact, I think practically all of them pay towards their pensions. They don't all have job security. I know many people, for example, in the health sector who are temporary, who are on contracts, who have no security whatsoever in their jobs, and who don't know if they're going to have a job in 6 months' time. Those people are also being asked to pay, and somehow or other they're being tarred with this brush of having security and being the kind of people who are not willing to pay their part. Everybody that I know of in this country is willing to pay their part, as long as it's done fairly, and as long as it's done in a way that people can see that they're not being scapegoated while other people are being let off the hook. And that's why, in this Labour Party motion, we are asking that the government go back and negotiate again with the social partners, and that they present us with a full, complete plan about how we're going to get out of this mess, how we're going to create jobs, how we're going to get the rich to pay, how we're going to ensure that everybody in this country can see that they're getting fair play. And you know, if Obama in the United States can cap the higher incomes in his country, I don't see why we can't do it. Basically, we need a total change of culture. If you look, for example, to the Northern European countries, you've got a much smaller divide between the well-off and the less well-off in those countries. Yet those are successful economies and successful societies that have excellent health and education services. Thank you, Lasceann Comhairle. So I believe that what we need to bring about is that kind of society, where we narrow the gap between rich and poor. We need to cap higher incomes, and we need to see the likes of Mr Goggin and others in the banks having their incomes capped rather than simply a percentage taken off. And we need to channel all of the anger that's out there to change the culture of greed, access and privilege to one of solidarity and fairness.